Tonight, new details come to light about a Whyalla mother accused of filming her son smoking a bong. And the fight for his political life, the latest poll revealing Eddie Hughes on a knife edge in the upcoming election.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Lawyers for a Whyalla mother accused of filming her son smoking a bong have detailed her own troubled upbringing at a sentencing hearing today. The judge adjourned proceedings this afternoon by revoking the woman's bail. Amelia Simpson reports.
The woman behind the camera of a disturbing video allegedly showing her son smoking a bong has fronted court this afternoon for sentencing. The court heard that the maximum penalty for a crime of this type is life in prison. The lawyer for the accused tabled documentation detailing the Department of Child Protection's family safety plan and her drug test results. Judge Geraldine Davison noticed her 3 drug test results showed evidence of THC, a chemical compound found in cannabis, after pleading guilty last year. Her lawyer maintained the accused had started smoking cannabis herself at aged 11 and had been subject to many years of abuse. She said her client found out her son was smoking with his cousin outside the home and that her intent was to show him he should not hide his drug use from her. The court heard the accused intended to show the video to her son as an adult. The lawyer asked Judge Davison to consider a suspended sentence, otherwise both parents of her client's children would be in custody. After reading a letter from the accused, Judge Davison told the court she found it difficult to accept the accused didn't know it was wrong and what appears to be a continuing use of cannabis. The accused broke down in court as Judge Davison told her she'd be spending the next 3 days behind bars with her bail refused. The case has been adjourned until Friday.
A man has been reported for assault after allegedly striking a staff member at the Port Lincoln Hotel. Just after 3 on Sunday morning, police were called to the pub after the alleged assault. The man ran off but was detained by the victim and another staff member from the hotel. He's been banned from the pub for 3 months and will face court at a later date. The Whyalla Steelworks is undergoing a major upgrade of the systems that help clean during the steelmaking process. The $2.5 million project is good news for local companies, with contractors securing some work on the project.
Electrostatic precipitators clean out particles from gas produced during steelmaking before it's released. Whyalla Steelworks has 3 of them in the basic oxygen section of the plant, with precept number 2 set for a multi-million-dollar upgrade.
It is always important to us to make sure that we don't have visible excursions out of the stack. That is our responsibility.
The upgrade began yesterday and will run through until the end of March. The other 2 precepts will remain online, but with one of them out of action, there is potential for an increase in emissions during the upgrades.
We will balance the load and we will ensure that we reduce the visible excursions as far as we can.
The project is also a boost for local businesses. Contractors will join forces with Steelworks staff to complete the upgrades over the next few weeks.
Not only will it give us a benefit on the plant, but it will be a benefit to the community. And as you say, that there's also opportunities for contractors to get involved.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A heartless thief is made off with a charity tin from a supermarket in Broken Hill. Police are asking anyone who has details on the offender who took the tin from Coles in Gosson Street last week. Officers say he's described to be of Aboriginal appearance and believe he walked out with the tin in his groceries on Friday night at around 6 o'clock. Still to come tonight, the latest polling has 2 of the Giles candidates neck and neck. The details next. Port Augusta's Davenport community members have again been left frustrated by stalled dry zone plans. It comes after the local council passed a move to implement alcohol restrictions in the area in a bid to curb substance abuse.
The Davenport community has wrestled with alcohol abuse for years and in what should be a family-friendly area is littered with broken glass.
We want people to come here. And we're Aboriginal people, we want them to come in and see their mum, family and that sort of stuff. But there's responsibilities around that when they do come.
Community leaders say implementing a dry zone similar to the one at the Port Augusta Council area would clean up the mess.
It's paramount we get this done. because we see what alcohol overconsumption does to Aboriginal people.
The community has agreed to implement a partial dry zone, a bylaw preventing public drinking and restrict alcohol consumption to private homes. It'd allow police to enforce the rule.
First, the community's got to come up with approval for a dry zone. Now, the Davenport community members, we had that meeting. We had 2 meetings actually, and they passed a partial dry zone.
The push for dry zones in Davenport has been going on for years. Leaders are now calling on the state government to fast-track an alcohol ban.
But again, it's Aboriginal playing a leading role, but what the stoppages does is departments and government not working with us to achieve those outcomes, what we want here, to have a safe and prosperous community.
The Department for Aboriginal Affairs could not be reached for comment. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The Broken Hill Chamber of Commerce has released a new tourism guide and a map of the town. The guide showcases a range of activities in the Silver City and around the far west.
The guide itself is based on making sure that everyone understands exactly what we've got to offer around here. All the good places to eat, all the good places to stay, and all of the things to see while you're here, which is huge when you think about 100 pages for the area. That's enormous.
The guide and map will be available through many tourist outlets around town. Labor's candidate for Giles, Eddie Hughes, is gearing up for the fight of his political life, with the latest poll showing him neck and neck with SA Best candidate Tom Antonio. John Hunt has more.
Ever since Tom Antonio entered the race for Giles, it's been tipped the contest in the electorate would be a tight one. The selection seems to be paying off for SA Best, with the party now in touching distance of unseating Labor's Eddie Hughes. An Advertiser Galaxy poll shows Labor's primary vote has dropped by 12 points to 37%, with SA Best just behind on 31. On the two-party preferred scale, the poll is calling it dead even at 50-50, with Liberal preferences to be the key on March 17. There's no love lost between the two candidates, as old feuds spectacularly became public when Mr. Antonio confirmed he was running back in January. Mr. Hughes says his focus is on Labor's track record in the region, including the potential for a new deep sea port in the Gulf.
A lot of projects, a lot of those projects are going to generate employment opportunities, so people can see that and they can feel it.
Mr. Antonio says he's not concentrating too much on the poll result. He says the common theme he's getting from voters is they want to see change in how they're treated by the government.
And if you don't change anything, then nothing will change, because currently we're in the status quo. So if we don't change now, you'll have the same of what we've had for the last 16 years.
Meanwhile, the order of the voting ballot has been selected with mixed fortunes for the two candidates. Mr. Hughes has been drawn in 4th position in front of the Liberals' Mark Walsh, with Mr. Antonio drawn in the 6th and final position.
John Hunt reporting there. And as we just heard, the state election campaign is now in full swing, and over the next few weeks, Southern Cross News will be putting issues important to the region under the microscope. Tonight, we begin with an area that affects almost every resident across the Spencer Gulf: health. Here's Rachel Nell with some of the policies the three parties are putting forward.
Preventing people in regional communities from falling through the gaps. At some stage in someone's life, there's a chance you'll come into contact with the public health system, but regional centres are often left struggling. So what are the parties doing about it? The state government has pledged to inject $140 million into regional hospitals and aged care infrastructure over the next 10 years, including boosting renal services in Whyalla.
We're putting pressure on the three major parties, that's the SA Best, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party, to make certain we get more money into regional hospitals.
But the Liberals say there's a $150 million backlog of maintenance and repair work that needs to be fixed in country health facilities. It comes as reports surface on the crumbling of Port Pirie Hospital, with structural problems in the emergency department and X-ray division.
We've had no investment in country health, no investment in the Port Pirie Hospital in the last 4 years. It has cracks more than 10 centimetres in some of its walls, and staff can't go into some parts of the building because it's deemed unsafe.
SA Best candidate Sam Johnson believes the region deserves better health care, committing funding and insisting the new government clears the backlog within 2 years.
We believe there needs to be better health facilities, i.e. the new hospital, and second of all, part of our health policy as well talks about how do we get those better services and facilities in regional areas.
I've had a proposal down to the Minister to actually look at increasing the number of dialysis machines in Port Pirie, and the Port Pirie Regional Health Service in particular wants to accommodate or combine the dialysis machines with the chemotherapy. It's better opportunities and better utilisation.
The Libs have promised to recruit and train doctors in areas struggling to retain medical professionals. It's also vowed to invest $5 million to double chemotherapy services in country areas, and are also promising to improve wait times for bowel screening services.
Some people are waiting up to 12 months to have a colonoscopy in our state, and that's not deemed safe by, doctors. They say that people should be having colonoscopies within 4 months.
But SA Best says more questions need to be asked before doubling services.
How do we start to incentivise health professionals to actually bring them to the country and maintain them in the country?
In Port Pirie in particular, we have lost 6 doctors just recently and through no fault of the community. But we cannot get provider numbers through Medicare. So I'm taking that up with the Minister.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
After the break, a piece of Broken Hill to feature in the Sydney Mardi Gras parade this weekend. That's next. A Port Lincoln local has made his debut on a reality television program. Levi Prude won this year's iconic Tunarama toss and put his competitive skills to the test when he faced even bigger obstacles during the course of Australian Spartan. Mr Proud was part of a team which finished second on the first program that aired on Sunday night. He was selected after another team member injured his knee in the lead-up to filming. This weekend's Mardi Gras parade in Sydney will have a touch of the outback in its lineup of floats. The Broken Hill Festival will have its very own presence in the parade, complete with a huge silver stiletto and plenty of glitter.
It's one of the world's biggest gay and lesbian pride festivals, and this year Broken Hill will be a part of it.
I think there were over 250 to 300 people who applied to get floats in this year. They choose 80.
The Sydney Mardi Gras Parade will celebrate its 40th year on Saturday night. The Silver City's glitzy and glamorous event will be the 21st float in the parade. Drag artists performing at this year's festival will be all over the iconic silver stiletto, with dancers, miners, emus and lizards surrounding them.
About 50 to 60 people will be on the float and around the float, so it's going to be hopefully create quite a spectacular down there. We've got big 8 metre long ribbons to come off the back of the shoe, and lots of colour and activity.
300,000 people are set to line the streets of Sydney to watch the parade, increasing the exposure of the popular drag event.
An enormous amount of international guests, really going to be fantastic coverage for our festival.
Now in its 4th year, organisers believe the Broken Hill Festival will sell out in 2019, with around 400 tickets already sold, and the event is still over 6 months away. Life in the Outback is never a drag.
Check us out on Saturday. I think it will be on about 7:30 is when we will start the parade route. It usually lasts for about an hour, so very excited.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Turning to sport now, and in Port Lincoln basketball, the Rangers have moved up into top spot with only a couple of games left in this season. Jason Kemp has the sport highlights. Jace, the competition is beginning to narrow on court.
Yeah, that's right, Fraser. With just a couple of basketball games left, the court action is beginning to heat up. The Rangers notching up another win this season. It's been a tight tussle in Port Lincoln, with Rangers defeating Lincoln South over the weekend. The Blues had a lacklustre display against the Rangers. Meanwhile, in the Pecker showdown, it was Green who prevailed over Yellow, winning by 15 points. Moving over to Port Pirie, the Tomcats edged out the Globetrotters in the dying minutes to get the win, and the Mighty Ducks had a 10-point victory over the Pacers. In Port Augusta, Augusta, the match of the round ended in a high-scoring tie, the Wildcats and Eagles walking away with half the points in a thriller that couldn't be decided. Meanwhile, the Titans accounted for the Wildcats by 12 points. Moving over to Whyalla, the Wildcats cruised to victory over Bevan, and Rupina defeated the Demons by 18 points. Turning over to Broken Hill, the Scorchers narrowly defeated the Bulldogs by a shot, Real's team got the win over the Freeballers, and the Ramjets defeated the Broncos. Switching over to some football action from the girls in Crystalbrook, the under-16 Roosters had a strong showing against the Lions, while in the seniors, Mid-North failed to trouble the goal scorers against the Roosters, and Law & Order beat the Lions by a kick. Swapping to softball in Whyalla, the Eagles defeated the Spears by 11 runs. And lastly, the Tigers upset the Indians by a run thanks to some handy outfielding. And over in Pirie, the Cats and Tigers were deadlocked at 4 runs after a comeback from the Tigers to tie the game. Well, that's it for another huge week of sport, but we'll be back on Friday with our expert cricket tippers from around the regions. And if you've got some local sporting results you want seen on TV, make sure you drop us a line at localsport@sca.com.au.
Thanks, Jace. We'll stay with us after the break. We'll have all the local weather details with Amy Stevenson. And Amy, it was a warmer day around the Gulf today.
Indeed it was, Fraser, with temperatures creeping back into the high 30s. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. It was a warm and sunny day in Port Augusta, 37 the top there. Whyalla also reached 37, while Port Lincoln saw a top of 35, while temperatures hovered in the mid to high 30s in all other centres. Checking the satellite, and despite some patchy cloud over southern South Australia, it won't bring any rain. Skies are clearer around the rest of the state under a high pressure system. If you're planning to spend tomorrow on the waters, there will be a southwesterly wind up to 30 knots. Seas will reach 1.5 metres and the sun will pop up at 7:05. Taking a look at tomorrow's conditions, and it'll be a cooler 29 in Port Augusta, Whyalla also reaching only 26, Woodna and Corn will hover in the high 20s, while Port Lincoln can expect a top of only 24. A warmer day in Broken Hill reaching 35, with temperatures hovering in the mid to high 20s in all other districts. Looking towards the weekend, and a cooler change is on the way, with Port Lincoln hovering in the low 20s before 25 on Saturday. Cleve will have a warmer Friday and 29, while in Woodna temperatures will creep back up into the low 30s over the weekend. Further up the Gulf, and Whyalla will reach 28 on Saturday. Temperatures will rise in Port Augusta, reaching 35 over the weekend, while Kadina will experience milder days and in the high 20s. Those in Port Pirie can expect temperatures in the low 30s over the weekend, while Clare will hover in the high 20s before 30 on Saturday. However, temperatures in Broken Hill will stay relatively warmer with tops of 36. So Fraser, despite the warmer weather, a cooler change is on the way around the Spencer Gulf as we head into the final day of summer.
Thanks, Amy. A look at tonight's top stories now. Lawyers for a Whyalla mother accused of filming her son smoking a bong have detailed her own troubled upbringing at a sentencing hearing. The judge adjourned proceedings this afternoon by revoking the woman's bail. Labor's candidate for Giles, Eddie Hughes, is gearing up for the fight of his political life, with the latest poll showing him neck and neck with SA Best candidate Tom Antonio. And this weekend's Mardi Gras parade in Sydney will have a touch of the outback in its lineup of floats. The Broken Hill Festival will have its very own presence in the parade, complete with a huge silver stiletto and plenty of glitter. And that's the local news this Tuesday. Thanks for your company. I'll have some updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.